My wife is a self-diagnosed hypochondriac. Her dad died of brain cancer. Her mom was diagnosed with breast cancer. In the years past, her grandfather had throat cancer, and her grandmother has COPD.
This is the demon of anxiety. It's kind of right. What up, what up, what up, what up? This is John with the Dr. John Delony Show, the greatest mental health and marriage and parenting podcast that's ever existed. I'm just telling you, man, if we just keep saying it over and over, it's going to become true. So glad that you've joined us. If you want to be on this show, let me know what's going on in your life, whether you got trauma you got to deal with, you've got parenting issues, you've got problems with your kids' schools, what's going on at your universities with your kids, whatever's going on in your life. Give me a buzz at 1-844-693-3291. It's 1-844-693-3291 or go to johndelony.com/ask, A-S-K. All right, let's go to Rhea in Alberta, Canada. What's up, Rhea?
Good morning. Thank you for having me on, Dr. John.
Of course. How are you? You sound so lovely.
I'm well, thank you. So, my issue is weight. I got to give you a little background. I have been a Dave Ramsey follower since 2007. I saw him at an event in 2007 in Salt Lake City, and I kind of have been on the program ever since. One time I had a fall off, but I got back on. So,
hey, way to go. So have you paid up? You don't owe anybody any money?
None.
Wow, way to go.
Yeah, house paid off, got investments.
You don't have a house payment?
No house payment, no credit card, nothing.
Hey, to people listening to the show, there's a big chunk of our listeners that don't know what, like, the Dave Ramsey program and all that. Tell them what it feels like to not have a house payment. And you got inflation, you got Christmas coming up.
I know.
Like,
so
tell them what that feels like.
I sleep at night.
Yeah, because you know, like, it's gas is more expensive. It's annoying. It's not a choice between gas or food, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it is. And you know what? Sometimes, I mean, this Christmas is going to be a little tight.
Yeah.
But so I'm 75. I've got 5 kids, 14 grandkids. But they all know that Grandma is not going to be a cash cow this year, and I just kind of live within my means.
That means you've also, over the years of paying all your debts off, you've also learned how to have hard conversations, not hard conversations, but just direct conversations, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So great. You're incredible, Rhea. So how can I help you? You mentioned weight. How can I help you?
Yeah. So, since I was about 12, went into puberty. I grew up on a farm. I was the oldest one in the family, so I helped with farm chores. I was always kind of a stockier build, like, not real slim, trim, 100-pound. My frame is not small. And so I always grew up kind of with low self-esteem. I mean, I was 127 pounds for all of high school, where all the other girls were 115. Like that, So I think my mom was overweight. My grandmas were not.
Hold on. Were people ugly to you, or was this something in your mind? Were people mean to you?
No, I think maybe it was in my mind.
Okay, and I say in your mind, like you're not crazy or anything like that, but.
No.
The difference between 115 and 127,
I know,
is not it's not a significant gap, right?
No.
But so
maybe to a 14-year-old it is.
Oh, make no mistake about that, right? So I'm not trying to minimize it. What I'm trying to get at is, was this something you sensed in yourself? Or were people making fun of you? Were they laughing at you? Was your mom always making comments? Was your mom always on a diet and your dad making comments about her and you absorbed some of that? That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah. My mom was always on a diet.
Okay.
Absolutely. I don't think my dad ever made a comment. I don't think so.
Okay. But your mom was always talking about weight and was always on a diet and partridge in a pear tree. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're 75. You've had a remarkable life. You've got grandkids, your own kids. And here we are.
Yeah, and I've had some hard stuff. My oldest daughter passed away when she was 15 from cancer. It was not diagnosed properly, and she passed away. My husband died in a car accident. I did go for counseling after a number of deaths in the family. I did go for counseling a couple of different times, but it was more grief counseling, and
Sure.
it was astounding how much good that did.
Oh, good. That's cool.
I tried to go back with the same. Well, there was two different counselors actually, did two different times. I tried to go back and talk with them about the weight because I still think I have that self-esteem issue. In fact, I know I do.
Okay.
But bottom line, they are so busy that an issue of what I'd like to lose is about 30 pounds, maybe a little bit more.
Okay.
But it's just enough to make me fluffy instead of streamlined. And I want to be streamlined because I will feel better about Rhea.
Okay.
So I had a gastroplasty, and it partially helped. Yep.
Okay. How much did you lose after that?
About 60 pounds.
Okay. And have you maintained it?
No.
Okay. So it came back. Did it come back plus, or did it come back about level?
About level.
Okay.
Well, no. I was 240. I'm 180, and I'd like to get down to about 150.
Okay. So you're still down significantly.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right. Okay. So there's a lot to unpack here, and I'm going to try to do it in as I was going to say bite-sized, and then I was going to say digestible, and I don't want to make food references. They were just from what was coming out, okay? I'm going to try to make this as simple as possible. Is that cool?
Perfect. Thank you.
I could talk nerd all day. We could call we could talk nerd all day. Let's get to the meat and potatoes here. And again, there's yet another food reference. Sorry about that. So, there's an extraordinary man who is also a great actor. His name's Ethan Suplee. And he has documented just an astounding weight loss, and not only weight loss, but just a personal transformation. And my friend, Dr. Lane Norton, who's one of the premier voices in the world on nutrition and weight loss and building muscle and taking care of your body. He told me that Ethan one time said this: when the house is on fire, that's not the time to try to figure out why the house is burning. Like, where did the fire start? Why did it start? When the house is on fire, we just need to get out. Let's just get out of the house. And then when the fire's burned itself out, then we send in the arson investigators, the engineers, the whoever, to go in and then to figure it out so that it doesn't happen again, right?
Yep.
So similarly, you can, and you've done the work, you've thought through this a lot about where did this idea that Rhea is less than, where did that start?
Yeah.
And you've pinpointed it as a 12-year-old little girl working on a farm, that you were a little bit bigger than the other girls in your class, and that made you feel outside of the bounds a little bit. My guess is it's deeper than that. And also my guess is at this point at 75, doesn't matter. Okay? Let's do the things that we know are going to help. And I'm going to tell you all that with one giant caveat. Okay? And this is a hard caveat. If you lost 30 pounds in the next 30 days, you know who would be there? Rhea.
True.
And if you lost 50 pounds, Rhea goes with you too.
That's true.
And so I want to promise you that you'll see that number on the scale, and you'll feel so proud and good for a minute. And then you'll look at Rhea. And until you make peace and love her, regardless of what that scale says, you're going to be chasing ghosts. Okay? The Rhea I've got to talk to today is incredible. You've been through hell and back a bunch of times. You grew up in Canada, for God's sake. I grew up in Texas, and they told us at church hell was hot. I don't believe that. I think it's cold, and Canada sounds a lot, right? You've been through so much, and you can sit back and look at your family, and you're going to have a house full of knuckleheaded little grandkids in a couple of weeks.
Yep.
You've been a part of changing your family tree and changing your family legacy. And as an outsider, I see a lot of reasons to love Rhea. She's an impressive woman. Okay? So the first thing I want you to do before we do anything else, we get off the phone over the next couple of days, is I want you to write a letter to that 12-year-old little Rhea. And I want you to tell Rhea what you think of her. And I'm going to ask you to be really kind to that 12-year-old little girl, because you wouldn't talk to her the same way you talk to grown-up Rhea, would you?
No.
Nope. That little 127-pound 12-year-old girl was beautiful and was a hard worker and was probably hilarious and probably had to deal with some of her mom's demons too, right?
Yes.
And that 12-year-old little girl, you know what she deserves? To look in the mirror and just smile from ear to ear and be absolutely in love with herself, because she's beautiful and she's fun and she's silly and she's goofy, and she doesn't need to absorb mom's weight issues and mom's personal struggles and mom's trauma that she endured as a young girl and all that. But here we are. So I want you to write 12-year-old Rhea a letter. Tell her that you love her. Tell her you're proud of her. Let her off the hook, okay?
Yes.
All right. So that's step number one. Step number two is we're going to practice in this upcoming new year on a new identity. You are not Rhea, the overweight lady. You are going to be Rhea, the woman who's a good steward of her body. Okay? Let's pretend you got 25 years left. I'm a good steward of my body. I'm going to take care of it. That means I'm going to move. I'm going to exercise some. I want to be able to, when I'm 85, to kick my grandkids' little booty all over the living room floor when we wrestle. That's what we're aiming for, okay? So we are going to become a good steward of our body. That's our identity. Not we're fat and we have to get smaller so that we can finally love who we are. That's not going to work. We're going to become a steward of our body. And if we are a good steward of our body, our weight will take care of itself. Okay?
Yes.
So I want you to spend some time over the next couple of weeks before the new year rolls over, asking yourself, what's going to make me a good steward of my body? And let me tell you, we're going to get through some of the details down here, but this is important. This last weekend, my church had a potluck. I love potlucks. Y'all have those in Canada?
Absolutely.
Oh, man. And my favorite part of the church potluck is the card table full of desserts. And because I've got a great friend in Dr. Lane Norton who has been really direct with me and been a real blessing to me. You know what I did? I went in at lunch and I had my lunch and I annihilated that dessert table. I at one point I sat down and my wife looked at me and her eyes got big and I said, I'm making poor choices and I know. And she said, okay, just wanted to make sure you were conscious. And at dinner, I had a small omelet because, like a budget, I'd spent my money at lunch. I didn't save it for dinner. And you know what? The next day, I was down 1.2 pounds.
Oh.
Okay? So I want to tell you that sometimes being a good steward of your body is just having a great day. Okay? It's not always torture, and it's not restriction all the time, and it's not hatred. As my friend Sal over at Mind Pump said, you can't hate your body into making it looking better. That's not sustainable. It's like hating your husband into loving you more. That just doesn't work. Okay?
Yeah.
So we're going to start with a new identity. We're going to be a good steward of our bodies for as long as we've got it left. Okay? Here's the second thing. Awareness and intentionality. There's a gap between stimulus and response, between all of a sudden I miss my husband, or when your daughter's birthday rolls around and you miss her, or one of your grandkids calls and says, Granny, I got a C instead of an A. And your default setting might be to grab a cookie or to go to the store or to get a large Coke and pour the whole thing, right? All we're looking
Absolutely is. That's an absolute default.
Okay,
right
so
there.
here's what we're doing. We're just going to look for some space, just a gap between that initial feeling and I'm reaching for it. Last night, and I'm learning this. I'm practicing this right along with you, okay? I'm not obese. I'm not struggling, but I am trying to get control of my intentionality. Yesterday, I was on the phone having a conversation. On the way out the door, I grabbed off my boss's desk. He's got a bowl of candy. I grabbed a box of the Milk Duds. And I started walking out, and just before I opened them, I had that space, and I set them down on his admin's desk. So I carried them for about 15 feet. And it was just a gap between stimulus and response, between I'm having a hard conversation. I picked these up. I don't want these. I'm going to set these down. Okay? That's what we're looking for, just a gap. A big part of that is tracking. Okay? And so here's a cool thing. My friend, Dr. Lane Norton, has what I think has been a blessing to me. My friends are all using it now. It's the single best tracking app for what we eat in the world. It's called Carbon, Carbon. And he is going to gift you a lifetime membership. You can have it forever. Okay?
Wow.
So I want you to hang on the line. Thank Dr. Norton. It's been a blessing to me, and I called them last night and said, hey, would you be willing to gift this? It's been such a blessing to me to this caller I've got tomorrow. And he said, absolutely. And so you'll stay on the line. We'll get your contact info. And it's just an app that you log into, and it tracks your protein and your calories. It helps you be intentional about what you've eaten over the course of a day. And I thought I was eating about 1,000 calories less than I actually was. And so there's been a few months where I've had to learn, like, I'm not starving. I'm not hungry. I'm just used to this space being filled up with gummy candies and Milk Duds, right?
Yes.
And I just have to feel what that feels like. Feels good. Or it feels not great, but I'll be all right. See what I'm saying?
Yes.
It's the single best weight loss app. Not even weight loss app. It's a coaching app. And it's incredible, but I'm going to give it to you, okay? You put it on your smartphone, and you can just carry it around with you, and it's going to be something that you practice with, okay? And you're going to have to come up with, here's number 3, some sort of restriction that you can live with. Some do vegan, some do keto, some do I don't care what it is, but at some point you're going to have to say, I'm through. I spent my money for today. And money is just calories, right? I've spent them for the day. Yep. And so I had a humongous breakfast full of pancakes and bacon. Cool. I'm going to have a really light dinner. I'm going to go for a walk, right? Because I spent my money today. It's just like a budget, except it's calories, okay? And then the final one is a part of our stewardship of our body is we're going to move. Whether that's exercise, whether that's going to the local YMCA, whether that's getting in one of those like water aerobics group, whatever that is. I'm just going to commit to movement. It might be walking around my yard. Okay.
Yeah. I love to walk when there's no ice.
Yeah. Don't go walking in the ice.
My kids gave me a bike. No, my kids gave me a recumbent bike 2 years ago for Christmas.
Great.
So I've got no excuse.
There you go. Hey, watch your favorite show.
There we go.
Put it on there.
Which Dr. Delony, right? John Delony show.
I that's going to make you pedal really slow. It's kind of it put you to sleep. All right, here's the last thing. I'm going to let you go, okay?
Okay.
The last thing is I want you to write 75-year-old Rhea a letter. And I want you to tell 75-year-old Rhea how proud of her you are, how much you love her. I want you to hug that woman for the hard stuff she's been through. Hug that woman for the great stuff for the hard choices she's had to make over the years, for her ability to pay off all her debts and have hard conversations with her kids. I want you to write 75-year-old Rhea a letter and remind her that she's not a failure. Her whole life hasn't been a sham. She hasn't screwed up everything. She's a really cool lady.
Thank you.
Is that cool?
Yes, it is.
All right. I cannot be more grateful for you. Thank you for calling, for sharing your journey with us. Thank you for being brave. Thank you for letting that 12-year-old little girl go play for the first time in a long time. And thank you for loving my friend, 75-year-old Rhea. And big shout out to Dr. Lane Norton and his team, like the incredible Carbon app. Go check it out wherever you get apps. It's worth it if you're thinking about losing weight in this upcoming year, or you want to start lifting weights more, whatever your goals are. Check it out, Carbon. And by the way, I have no financial affiliation in this thing at all. None, zero. I make $0 off of this thing. I just use it personally, and I believe in it in a deep and profound way. Rhea, you're awesome. Everybody will be right back. Delony here, and I've got a word from this episode's sponsor, BetterHelp. Let's all be honest. Life would be way easier if it came with a user manual. Marriage, parenting, work, making friends, especially as adults. But this is the truth, my friends. There's no step-by-step guide. You have to take ownership of your life. And when it feels like too much, or you feel stuck or overwhelmed, it's too easy to get lost in the anxiety black hole. I've been there. But you can learn to navigate this beautiful chaos we call life in a healthy way. Therapy gives you the tools to do just that. And that's why I love BetterHelp. BetterHelp is online therapy that offers video, phone, even live chat sessions with your therapist. There's no waiting rooms, no traffic, no endlessly searching for the right therapist that happens to not take your insurance. Listen, BetterHelp has connected more than 3 million people with licensed therapists, and they can match you with a therapist in under 48 hours. So don't settle for feeling stuck. Visit betterhelp.com/Delony today to learn more and get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp.com/Delony. All right, we are back. Let's go to Paul in Welcome to Miami. What's up, Paul?
Hey, how you doing, Dr. John?
I'm good, man. What's up?
Oh, not much. Living a Jimmy Buffett day and relaxing at home.
Cheeseburger in paradise, baby.
That's right.
So what's up?
Well, thank you for taking my call.
You got it.
I'm calling because my wife is a self-diagnosed hypochondriac.
Oh, Paul, I love you, and I'm sure your wife is awesome. But I think we can all agree that self-diagnosed hypochondriacs, whoa.
And she also states she loves going to the doctor.
Oh, gosh. Hey, here's what I'm saying. Oh, gosh, not because she's dumb or a moron or somehow less than. I'm saying, oh, gosh, because I know how hard this is in your home. And I know how miserable it is for her and how miserable it is for you. Y'all got little ones too?
Nope, no little ones, not yet.
Okay.
But
oh boy,
plans for the future.
Okay. So she's got health anxieties. Fair?
Yes. Yeah, health anxieties. She does have general anxieties as well. She gave me a list of active worries that she has.
Okay.
And then you always say to lead with the big things, so I could do both of those if you like.
Go for it.
So, to caveat, she does say this started at a young age, this self-diagnosed hypochondriac.
Sure.
But her active worries are all forms of cancer,
okay,
heart failure, blood clots, brain aneurysms, COVID, any lung or heart issues from COVID, and pneumonia, to name a few.
Cool.
And the big things are 3 years ago, her dad died of brain cancer.
Okay.
This past year, her mom was diagnosed with breast cancer.
Okay.
In the years past, her grandfather had throat cancer.
Okay.
And her grandmother has COPD.
Okay. So, this is the demon of anxiety. It's kind of right. Right. So I don't want to parse apart health anxiety versus generalized anxiety. I think that can be an academic waste of most of our time. Okay. Sure. Your wife struggles from anxiety. I've been there. It's debilitating. It's hard. It messes up stuff. One of the things we've seen in the medical community over the last 15 or 20 years is an increase of people with pain disorders and who are struggling from, like, I think my heart rate is racing. I need to go to the doctor. Because often that's the only place where somebody stops what they're doing and puts their phone down and looks at them in the eye for 15 minutes or gently touches their skin, takes their blood pressure, right? It's much more about human interaction or it's as much about human interaction as it is about the diagnostic. Okay.
Sure.
It's a body screaming for connectivity. So she grew up as an anxious kid. Where did that come from? Mom, dad, who?
Well, from what she's told me, she did have, in my own opinion, some significant trauma through childhood. She was sexually abused by an older sibling. I know you've talked about screaming a lot for children, and she was in a household with a lot of screaming.
Okay.
And she's never been very close with her mom.
Okay. So she's got a lot in that sweet little body of hers. Okay. And the manifestation is some people dig holes in the ground and create underground bunkers. And some people hoard things and protect themselves with stuff. And some people respond to anxiety by drawing the shades in and getting under the covers and Netflixing themselves to death. I tried to solve my anxiety with information. And so it's really cool to tell people I've got 2 PhDs. It's also a trauma response. Okay. It was me trying to prove that I was smart, and it was me trying to get more data and more data and more data and more data.
Sure.
She happens to try to solve her anxiety from being over the top in tune with her physiological functions to the point that she's lost perspective. And she seeks the comfort of somebody she views as wise and someone who finds value in her, which is a medical professional or a nurse or a doctor, right?
Sure.
Okay. So she's going to have to decide. This is a person who, if I say, I want you to write your fears down and then demand evidence from them, when you're in the throes of deep anxiety, she's got all the evidence she needs. Every one of her family members has died of cancer or has cancer.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
So she's got all the data she needs.
Yeah, well, we've talked about that because we listen to you every day. And so we've talked about that as a team together. And she says, well, I can find the evidence.
That's right. So
yeah.
I'm going to go back to something my buddy Todd told me. And I've mentioned it on the show, and I'll mention it again because it was such a shapeshifter for me. Might not be helpful for anybody else. But one of my deep worries was the implosion of the financial system. I didn't understand it. I still don't understand it. But I didn't especially understand it then. And it didn't make sense to me. And things that didn't make sense to me were a threat to me. And then I start trying to solve things that didn't make sense to me. And that's makes even less sense because I don't even know how it works. I'm trying to solve something I don't know how it works. But I was sitting down with him, grilling him one day. And here's the other thing. I'm not dumb. And here's the other thing. We were in the middle of it was 2009, 2010, during the middle of the madness. So I had all the evidence I need. This whole thing's going down. This whole thing's a sham. This whole thing's on a house of cards. Mm-hmm. And we were going through this thing and this thing. I was like, what about this? And what if this happens? And what if this happens? And then finally he said, oh, dude, I don't have a meteorite plan. And I was like, what do you mean? And he said, well, I do all the things I know to do right now, which I carry no household consumer debt. He paid his house off. I have this, and I've got an emergency fund, and I don't have any debt on my cars, and I put money in retirement here, and I've got a couple of rent houses over here. And then if the monetary system goes away, I'll deal with that when it happens. And for some reason, it was a light bulb moment for me because I wasn't taking care of all the other things that I actually could control. I was just trying to catch a spaceship, which I couldn't do. And so I channeled my energy over time. I had to learn how to do this into, all right, well, I guess I'll go see a counselor. And I guess I will start hanging out with my friends again because I need relationships. And I guess I'll get my debts paid off because I know that you can't be non-anxious if you owe people money because your brain's screaming at you, you're not safe, you're not safe, you're not safe. So I started taking care of the little things, and it was amazing how the big stuff kind of evaporated. And here's what I mean in my house. I got a family history of cancers. I got a family history of heart stuff. Some of it I didn't even know about until recently. And so I get my blood taken every year by a great doctor, Dr. Vickery. And we go through it, and it's expensive. We go through the whole thing, and he does an incredible job. My wife does too. And I take really good care of myself best I can unless I'm having a gummy candy day. And so I'm doing all the things that I know to do. And then if I get throat cancer, I get throat cancer. You know what I mean? I don't have a Meteorite plan for that. After, I'm going to do the things that I'm going to be intentional about longevity. So here's what I'm telling you. She's going to have to choose to be less miserable in the present, not rehearsing tragedy for a thing that may happen someday.
Sure.
Right?
And I think it comes down, I think some of it might be a control thing as well.
No, don't. Hey, I wouldn't go there. Yeah. It is, but you're talking about a little girl who was sexually abused, and that little girl's still in there.
Right.
So yes, she is trying to seek control of something because the things that were supposed to love her the most, her brother, her mom and dad, they didn't show up. Right. So yeah, she's trying to control everything.
I think my question would come to how to be a good husband.
There we go.
When she brings up a concern, because I think I've gone through different, ways of trying to support her best, and now I'm just wondering is if she comes with a concern, a health concern, a very specific health concern, what's the best way I could support? Because right now what it is if she brings a very specific health concern, I'll say, okay, well, why don't we go to a specific doctor and get that checked out? But I'm not sure if that is a long-term solution.
No, because that becomes self-reinforcing. Right. Meaning she gets anxious. Y'all both go do a thing that you know is really not a good use of medical resources, of the doctor's time, and of y'all's time and money. But you're going to go do it because it's going to make her feel better right this moment. And what it does is it reinforces the anxiety that the way to feel better is to go do this thing. And then so your body, see what I'm saying? It starts a loop that your body's going to start seeking out these things every time.
Sure.
And so when I say the only way to heal is through it, it's to, I just woke up and I think I'm having fill in the blank.
Sure.
Right? And since we've already got a blood test, we're going to get a baseline test. Since we've already got a cancer screening, since we've already done an echocardiogram. So, and I am suggesting, go get a good baseline, like a great blood test, get a good baseline.
Sure.
So that when I think this thing, you can roll back to, we just 60 days ago, we got this great baseline here.
Yeah. And we do annual physicals.
Great.
And it came up to where maybe a month ago, she said, well, that's been 6 or 8 months ago, things can change. And so it's kind of like she would like to go again.
That's right. And so those are the moments we are going to breathe in. We're going to head right into the storm, meaning we're going to feel that anxiousness. We're going to know that our bodies are okay. We're going to hold loosely a meteorite that might be coming. You're right. We could have had 10 years of great blood tests, and then you got 7, 8 months, and then bam, stage 4 throat cancer. Right? I'm not a cancer doctor.
Sure.
But that's, she recognizes how unlikely that is, right?
Yeah, she does, and I've always said, at any point, if you want me to help you find a therapist, I'm happy to. But I know I can't push her into it. I know that from listening to you, it has to be a decision she has to come to on her own.
Right. And so what we need to do is when she's not anxious, we need to come up with a game plan that y'all are both going to shake hands and agree on. Because just running to specialist for the rest of her life is going to become cost prohibitive, and it really is taking resources from somebody else who needs to be there.
Sure.
And we don't want to blow over if she actually is having an incident. She does have an increased risk for cancer because she's got it in all of her family members. Right. She does possibly have an increased risk for fill in the blank. So sit down with somebody and map that out. And I definitely think seeing a counselor is important. I think if she won't go, then you go on your own. And if she asks you, why are you going? Tell her, I want to learn some better tools on how to relationally connect with somebody who's struggling so deeply from anxiety.
Okay.
What you're going to be tempted to do is to create a universe on your own. A world that's not crazy. a world that's a little more stable. And what she's going to do is feel you by degrees, 1 degree, 2 degree, 3 degrees. She's going to feel you pulling away, and that's going to spark up the anxiety even more.
Sure.
Okay. So when you say what's the greatest thing you can do, I can tell you don't try to solve her as though she's like an engine issue. Lean in relationally, and you'll have to have already planned out what that looks like. When she comes to you and says, I think I'm having a stroke, already have planned out, all right, let's hold hands, both of them. I'll stop what I'm doing. I'm closing all the screens. I'm turning the game off, even though it's the fourth quarter. There's only 2 minutes left. I'm going to lean into this relationship. Sure. We're going to breathe together. I'm going to connect with you together. And then once our breathing's under control, then we're going to walk through, okay, what are the 3 things? Or we're going to go for a walk right now. And while we're walking, we're going to take 5 minutes of just doing box breathing while we're walking. And then after minute 5, we'll talk through symptoms. Tell me why you think, let's be curious. Tell me why you think you're having a stroke.
Yeah.
Right? And we're just going to practice that. But listen, you're right on. She's got to decide, I want to be less anxious. I want to heal from my anxiety, my health anxiety. And, geez, don't diagnose yourself as hypochondriac, please. That's so hard. Don't give yourself yet another label, yet another diagnosis. Body's trying to keep you safe. It has been for a long time. And to your wife, Paul, I'm sorry that her family didn't show up for her. Her family hurt her. And she's lucky to have you, a guy that loves her so much. So we're going to have some anxiety healing and some trauma healing and some practicing some new behaviors. To your sweet wife, she's watching this. You deserve to be well, and you deserve to be loved. You deserve to stop feeling like your body's failing you. The people in your life, they did. They failed you. They abused you. They hurt you. Screamed at you. Made it your fault. But you're good. And you're whole. And you're worth being well. We'll be right back. Hey guys, Delony here, and I've got a word from our sponsor, Whoop. If you've listened to the show for any length of time, you know I'm a major nerd about fitness, sleep, mental health, and building healthier life habits. And let's just say this, Whoop makes my nerd heart so happy. One reason I love Whoop is that it's not like all the other fitness trackers that mix in a watch and laser lights and smiley faces and a million notifications and reminders that you need to get your steps in. No. Whoop is a fitness wearable that actually looks cool and it's comfortable, and it gives you data that really matters. It breaks down your recovery, your sleep, and your daily strain into a format that's easy to interpret. And some days I wake up in the green and this tells me that I'm ready to go attack the day. And other days I wake up in the red and I know that I got to take it easy, and I can look back in time and see how I got there. If you're working to be intentional and build healthier habits, Whoop can help you get there. Start keeping an eye on your health and wellness at a deeper level. Go to whoop.com, that's WHOOP.com, and use promo code Delony to get 10% off your order today. All right, we are back. Let's go to, all right, so we got a husband and wife. Are they husband and wife? Yes, okay. So I'm going to bring them both on. This is scary for me. All right, let's take, we're going to go to Faith, because you got to have faith. What's up, Faith?
Hey, Dr. John. Thanks so much for taking our call.
Of course. All right, hang on. I'm going to bring in the mighty PHIL, Phil. Is that cool?
Yeah.
All right. Phil, you there?
I am. How's it going?
Are you all in the same house? I'm great. Are you all in the same house?
We are, yep.
Oh, this is incredible. Okay, at some point, one of y'all has to say something really mean about the other one, but you can't do anything because y'all are in the same house. Awesome. Okay, so what's up?
Hey, okay, so this is going to take a little backstory, but I'll just jump off with our question. We are wondering, how can we develop and set healthy boundaries to protect our marriage and family as we consider moving in with my dad and my siblings still at home?
Okay, tell me more.
Okay, so a year ago, actually January of 2021, we got some devastating news that my mom had esophageal cancer. We thought there was hope, and she went through treatment, but November of 2021, we lost her. And it was just an awful year. So my parents they have 8 children, 4 biological. I'm the second oldest, and then 4 adopted. And of the 8 kids, there are still 3 at home. My 18-year-old brother, a 10-year-old sister, and 11-year-old brother.
Whoa. Okay, so they're still like in it. I mean, your dad's he's still full contact parenting. Okay.
Yes, 100%. And my littlest brother has a lot of needs. He is paralyzed from the waist down.
Okay.
And just very immunocompromised. He's doing better as he's gotten older, but a lot of physical needs and emotional trauma and anger, and then add on the grief of losing your mom. So then the sister's doing okay, but the 18-year-old brother is also really hurting and exhibiting those behaviors. And then my dad struggles with bipolar disorder. Growing up, he really did a great job of coping with it as a dad and just handling it well. But my mom was his big support. And so now she's gone. And so in this last year, my husband and I, we have a little boy, and then we're expecting a baby.
Congratulations. Because why not? Y'all should get a puppy too. Might as well.
Just throw it all in.
Exactly.
Yeah, so we have been the siblings that have been in a place of able to help, wanting to help.
What is that? What does that mean? Like, so y'all have stable jobs, you've got income, y'all are the only couple that's married and likes each other. Like, what is you're able to help? What does that mean?
Okay. I am a stay-at-home mama.
Okay.
Phil now works from home. His job just transferred, so he works full time in his office, but he's home with us.
Okay.
And 2 days a week we have the kids over here after school. So I guess when I say we're the only ones able, I have an adult brother who lives at home, but he is also working full time and seeking to move forward with his own life. And then I have an adult sister who's married and has a baby, but they are just very consumed with their own family and jobs and boundaries.
Very nicely, you have said your other siblings want nothing to do with this mess. And you have transposed on yourself as we're the only ones who are able to, as you're the only ones who will. Can we call that? Is that fair? I know you don't like to talk bad about people. I can tell it in your voice. You are the sweetest person on planet Earth, but that's the truth, right?
Right.
Yes. Okay. There we go. There she is. All right. So your brothers, your siblings have left the building. And it's just you, and you're watching your dad slowly get pulled underwater, and you're watching these little kids slowly have to deal with their bipolar dad and the death of their mother and the adoption stuff, which is hard on kids, all of it, all at the same time. And so you and your husband, you and Phil, have decided we're going to move in. We're going to move our infant and our young kid into this house. And we're going to help.
Yeah.
I'm not saying, listen, none of that is bad. I'm not saying don't do that. I just want to be like really clear about here's what we're saying.
Right.
is going to be the
Yeah.
solution to this. Okay.
And I do want to say, so my brother who lives at home, he has recognized, like, hey, there's probably more ways that I could support. And he's actually the one that is a faithful listener to you. And it's like, Faith, you need to start listening. And so I did. And then I decided to email. And here we are.
That's right. All right. So what does
desiring
what
to
does
help.
looking like moving in? What does that look like? Phil, I haven't heard from you. You're being intelligently quiet right now.
I try my best. It's kept me safe for the most part.
Keep you safe. So what walk me through what you have experienced.
Yeah, so about a year ago, when our mom when she initially passed away, the idea had come up about possibly moving in to just help around the house, and it was immediately shot down. We had zero interest at that point.
Who brought it up? Who brought it up?
I think Faith might have, and then just other people in our life had kind of like mentioned the idea.
Okay.
But so at the time, we just kind of shot it down. Our son was 5-6 months old at the time, and we just didn't think it'd be good at the time. A couple months ago now, the idea kind of resurfaced. We had some other people we look up to in our lives kind of bring up the idea again, especially kind of after reviewing the year and kind of hoping, things would progress. We would start to move forward as far as her dad's household is concerned. And we just continue to see kind of the same issues and things going on. The most recent of which being that the 18-year-old brother who was still living at home has actually moved in with us.
Okay.
And just him and Dad had a bit of a falling out, and the dad actually approached us and asked if, and said, hey, it's not working at home right now. And we just kind of decided, Faith and I, to take him in. But
so ultimately, yeah. So let's do this. Let's drill down. How can I best help?
Sure. So I think the biggest thing is we understand, Faith and I, we've prayed a lot about it and truly feel God's leading towards it. That moving in to their house is one of the best ways we can help, and is what God's leading us to. So with that, we know that it could be very easy for tension to arise, for miscommunications to happen. And so what Faith and I are really seeking to do is figure out the best, how to clearly communicate and what boundaries we need to have in place to make sure that we're maintaining our own family, because that has to be our number one priority, but also to helping their family in the best way that we can.
All right. Excellent. All right. So I'll run through these, and I'm writing them down real quick. And all right. So the first and most important thing here is none of this works if your marriage falls apart. So cornerstone number one is you and Faith. Faith, you're there. Y'all two getting somewhere. No kids, except for the one that you're in the oven now. And deciding what kind of marriage we're going to have. And I would recommend be real specific. We will go on, obviously you're about to have a newborn, so that just throws all this into a blender, but we will go on dates like this many times a week. After we are back to sleeping together, we're going to have sex this many times a week. And so this is what we're going to have to do to make that a reality. We are, here's how our finances are going to be separate from this endeavor we're taking on. Here's who's going to do laundry. Here's who's going to do X and Y. And see what I'm saying? We are going to be really crystal clear. Who's going to do shop? Really crystal clear about our retirement, our saving for our kids' college, because it's real easy for this whole thing to get real blurred together. And suddenly, Phil, you're arguing with her about her dad, but suddenly you're defending this 11-year-old who's made her mad, and she spent money over here to buy groceries for everybody. And you see what I'm saying? You wake up in 10 years and y'all are everything's in ash. See what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
the first conversation is marriage has to go first. The second thing is you said it great. How are we going to protect our nuclear family inside of this thing? Because you have an infant and you're about to have a newborn. And infants and newborns need naps and they need sleep. And y'all are going to be up all night. And how are we going to manage this? Are we going to be able to hire somebody to come be a sitter that's going to help out? Even though I'm a stay-at-home mom, I'm going to need some support and some help. Even though you're working from home, Phil, you still got to work, right? How are we going to manage a overwhelming situation and taking care of a 70-year-old guy with bipolar disorder and an 18-year-old who's really upset and sad that he lost his mom and a 14-year-old and an 11-year-old? So how are we going to keep our nuclear family? How are we going to take care of the needs of two infants, basically is what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to be really clear about what our goals are. Meaning, what does help mean? And I think that you've probably heard me say, if you ever listen to the show, I used to say it all the time, talking about pictures and words. But my guess is, Faith, you have a picture of what help looks like. And I'm going to be real reductionistic and real general right here, okay? And so I might get this wrong, and I might mix up the gender roles and all that. I'm just making an example, so I'm not trying to be ugly or anything, okay? Faith, you may have a picture of help is this time next year, everyone in the family is sitting around having Thanksgiving. You've got this almost 1-year-old in one of those little papoose pouch things, and you're making dinner because you're a homemaker and you love it, and your husband comes out of the study, he's working from home, and your bipolar father, who's stable on his meds, he high-fives him and is like, man, you're a great husband. My daughter won the lottery when she married you. Like, you might have this picture of help. And your husband, Phil, you might have a picture of help, which is, I need you, father-in-law, to get a job. And I need you to not be in the house. I need all the kids to be quiet while I'm at work because I'm working from home now. And I'm going to need fill in the blank. And so help is going to look like 6 months where we're going to do this. We're going to get everybody back on their feet. I'm going to help dad get. And what we're going to have is we're going to have two people saying, we need to help. We need to help. We need to help. We need to help. And you're going to be saying two completely different things by using that same word. So I want y'all to get together in this retreat I'm proposing and be very crystal clear to the last detail. What does help mean? What are our goals by moving into this house? What are we going to accomplish by coming here? And then as a part of that, what can we actually do? If dad starts yelling, what are we going to do? If dad says, I'm not taking my meds, what are we going to do? If that 18-year-old hits somebody, what are we going to do, right? So if we sell our house, we're all in. I want to be very clear about planning some things on the front end so that we're not surprised and we freak out, and then we get surprised and we get freaked out. We make rash decisions along the way. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then we're going to communicate those very, very clearly to dad. And possibly, if he would do it, with dad's counselor, so that he's got some non-parents, like he's got some accountability that doesn't include his daughter and the guy who's keeps getting his daughter pregnant, right?
Yeah.
And I said that on purpose because there's that sense in there, right? So all that to say is saying, hey, Dad, you are paying for your groceries, or you are going to contribute $500 a month and we will do the shopping. You will do your laundry, or otherwise, Faith, you're going to become the pseudo mom to 1,000 people and try to raise a newborn on 2 hours of sleep a night. And Phil, you are going to be the breadwinner of a whole bunch of people and a whole bunch of house. And by working from home, down the hall from a screaming infant, an exhausted wife, and a bonkers 11-year-old, and a pissed off 18-year-old, and a dad who won't take his meds. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now, I am not in any way saying don't do this at all. I just want everybody to be clear.
Yeah.
Okay? There is no way that this isn't very hard, but I don't know anything on earth that's really good that isn't also very hard.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So let's be very crystal clear about who we're going to be, what our marriage is going to look like, what our parenting is going to look like, what kind of help we can provide, what kind of help we're willing to provide, what are our boundaries, and how are we going to communicate them.
Mm-hmm.
And let's just be really clear about that. And if at any point you say, oh, this doesn't work like this in this house, that's a good conversation to have. And I would suggest that anybody that is encouraging you from outside of your family's unit, outside of you and Phil, outside of you and Faith, I think it'd be a good idea if y'all just moved in with your father-in-law. I mean, he looks like that's real easy to say if you're not moving in with your father-in-law and his 3 young kids, right? And so it's simple to lob, what do we call them? It's simple to lob charity grenades on somebody. Man, you should give them your car. You should just let them have that other house of yours. Well, cool, thanks. That's easy. You should just sell your house and move in. Maybe. And if you've been thoughtful about it, you've been obviously, y'all are very prayerful people and you've considered that deeply. Man, go all in. Go for it. Like my buddy's a Navy SEAL. Like they don't look at the task log. They don't look at the mission and be like, it's just too hard. No, man, it's real hard. That's why you're a Navy SEAL. And we're going to be very specific about the challenges that we're going to face. And we're going to be very real. We're going to own reality about what we're going to be facing. And then we're going to be very specific about how we're going to overcome each one of those obstacles. And that's what I'm suggesting you do here. Y'all are Navy SEALs, Faith and Phil. Navy SEALs. Except you're not. You're just a really incredible daughter and a otherworldly son-in-law who loves his father-in-law and who's still grieving from the loss of mom. And he wants to see those 3 kids be well and whole and want to just be great people. So I'm proud of you. It's awesome. It's good to get to talk to you and know you. But let's be sober and let's be clear-eyed about what we're walking into so that we can have the identity that we're going to be people who are well and people who are whole. And we're going to keep this thing, the train on the tracks here, so that we can, quote unquote, help. We'll be right back. Hey, what's up? Now that my new book, Own Your Past, Change Your Future, is out in the wild, we've been hearing reviews and feedback from readers, and wow, I'm so grateful. And one of the things I've been most excited about hearing is that this book is not just for people who are healing from terrible traumatic experience or other big scary things from their past. This book is for everyone in every walk of life. The single 30-year-old looking to sharpen their mind, the 25-year-old hoping to make new friends, the parent who's tired of seeing their kids' eyes glued to a screen, but who doesn't know how to re-enter their life. People coming out of abusive relationships, everyone. And this book isn't me talking at you. This book is me walking with you because I've been there too. To better understand and improve your mental, relational, and emotional health, please check out Own Your Past, Change Your Future at johndelony.com today. That's johndelony.com today. All right, as we wrap up today's show in honor of the great Elton John's final U.S. concert this past weekend, and for the great Chris Wright, who is originally and most importantly known as one of the guitarists of Dump Button, the greatest bands that has ever existed. Also, otherwise known as Kelly's boss and yada, yada, yada. But he's a huge Elton John fan, and he specifically picked this song. And when your leader tells you you're going to do something, I guess that's how Kelly rolls. That's how she rolls. So the song is called Mona Lisa's and Mad Hatters. That should be the name of this show. That's fantastic. Elton John's Mona Lisa's and Mad Hatters, and it goes like this. And now I know Spanish Harlem are not just pretty words to say. I thought I knew, but now I know that rose trees never grow in New York City. Until you've seen this trash can dream come true, you stand at the ledge while people run through. And I thank the Lord there's people out there like you. I thank the Lord there's people out there like you. Faith and Phil, I thank the Lord there are people out there like you. You're amazing. And you are too, America. Thanks for listening. We'll see you soon.